I wanted to bring you into the rivers, the dry river beds, and I want to tell you some fire stories. But first I want to show you these anna trees. Now they are huge. I'll show you what it looks like with Ben in front of them. And just before I show you that, I quickly want to show you what the secondary flow area looks like of a river like this. So you have there where that car is now, you have a area of about 20 meters where the river flows once a year, and then you get secondary flows. And on the side of this river, because it's in the town area, they build these dikes, and this whole river is maybe 100 meters, 150 meters wide, but still you can see on these flood marks here, that's maybe 1.5 meters high. So every now and then you get this river running 150 meters wide and 1.5 meters high. Well, that doesn't happen every year. In fact, these rivers don't come down every year. But when they do, there's different ways that they come down in. The first one is just a small stream forming, and then it goes bigger and bigger and bigger. That stream runs maybe at the speed that you can walk in, so it's a small stream and it goes wider and wider and wider. The second way that they come down is they come down big. They build a wall of water, and then they catch the breeze, and then they go basically as fast as you can comfortably run. Not normally faster than that. So you can outrun it if you get caught by it, but obviously it's got all of that force behind it, and it's got a big wall of debris, branches and cars and whatever it picks up along the way for hundreds of kilometers. And then the news spreads and people start waiting for it downstream, and you can see this wall of rubble coming down towards you, and you get the news. Listen, the river is an hour away, the river is 2 hours away. Go wait by the river and you look for this. It's an amazing scene. If you haven't seen a river coming down in the desert, it is something very, very impressive. The thing that happens in the rivers is that the elephants and all the game life, whenever it runs dry, starts moving closer to the rivers, because these anna trees and the camel thorn trees, they all these camel thorn trees, they drop seeds, and then that feeds all the wild animals. So Damaraland, our dry regions, traditionally the home of the Damara people, and there's no fences, it's all communal land, so you can drive for hundreds of kilometers in these rivers. Go look at wild animals, go look at elephants especially. We used to take people up there. You get like, you drive in a river, and then if you know where, you just exit the river, and then you're on these plains, and it just looks like the Serengeti. Animals and animals and animals. And because they don't see a lot of people, they don't run. They don't get hunted from vehicles there. The way we hunt is very often from vehicles. So if you're in a crowded area or on a game farm, when they see a vehicle, they run. And so this is what the tree looks like with Ben as a reference. So that is something fantastic about these rivers. And then the other thing that happens is you find a shade and you put up your tent there and you make a camp there. But you have to be careful. There's this little tick called a tampan, which normally bites you and or can bite you, and that can cause serious damage. Obviously, how all of these river stories become important for the permaculture community. And when you have rivers like this, and I want to show you, this is now the primary flow area. This is about 50 meters wide, and this is basically where you drive. When you drive with your 4x4, you drive in this part of the river. You can drive like this for hundreds of kilometers. You find these big trees that you can camp under, and make fire. But if you were to build a little cement or stone wall 1.5 meters high, as high as Benjamin, maybe a little bit higher, and you build it 100 meters across, you will sink into the land a huge amount of water. Whenever I mention this to people, they say, you know, all of the water that needs to run downstream and so on. But our setup isn't big enough to build water infrastructure so fast that it will have a negative effect downstream. You can maybe catch, say, 1% of the water, and you can't build 100 of these structures. And by the time you get to 100 of these structures, then your 1% would be filled up, and it wouldn't catch any extra water. It would just hold back what it's holding back already, and then you have 100% more water in your land. That's the end of my river stories. I want to know your comments of what you can do in these rivers to make them more productive for Namibia and for the greater good of the world. But I also wanted to tell you a story about the fires that we have. We saw a fire last night in town, and normally this time of the year is fire season. It's dry, it's very windy, the grass is normally high, and fire ready. So we have a whole volunteer fire department in our town, and in most towns the farmers form fire departments, and they all equip their vehicles a certain time of year to fight fires. Now, when I grew up, this was also our story, and I remember one year we were driving, and so what you do is you put a 1,000-liter tank on the back of your car, and then you have these pumps that spray water, and so somebody would ride on the back, and then they would have a driver. And so we were driving down the line of the fire, and there was people in front of us, so some of the parts were dead already, and we came to this high power lines, and huge grass, smoke, high smoke, and I have never seen this before, and I never knew this could happen. But because the fire was burning underneath these big power lines, we saw these lightning strikes between the people fighting the fire as we were driving. And I see this in my mind's eye every time I see fire close to a power line. There was this older black guy that came running at us, and so my father was in the driver's seat, I was riding next to him, and he came up to us and he grabbed the windowsill like this with both of his hands, looking at my father, and he screamed, "Ah! Ah!" And he just kept on, left the windowsill, and he kept on running. And it was such a bizarre incident that whenever I fight fire close to power lines, I remember the scene. This year is different in Namibia because we had a drought. We had the winds and we had the dry, but we didn't have the grass. So you would have a small fire, and then it would just die down. There wasn't enough grass to keep the fires going. And that left me with the idea of, instead of building fire breaks with bulldozers and building them with road equipment, or burning them, which is very often as well. You burn a fire break 50 meters wide across your farm, then if fire comes, one side of your farm is protected. Now, the idea, if it catch on one day, maybe one farmer can see this video and think it's a good idea, is to do intensive grazing in a fire break area. So you eat all of the grass away, there's nothing to burn. So when the fire comes, there's a strip of land that's been emptied where nothing is growing, and the fire dies. The other thing is I got myself a little tree today, so I'm very thankful about that. Click on the link below, or follow, subscribe, do all of the things people do, and that's the end of my story.